05 was actually getting a bit slack. In fact, I've changed it now just to make sure. But on this player, this is the Good Cell Schools record player, it does the same. So I think it might be the recording, and Pickwick weren't particularly high-end brand of vinyl makers, record manufacturers. Pickwick International. This is got a nice stiff cardboard cover, and Sarah's doing the Sing Songs of Broadway on this particular album. She had a really interesting life. She was actually discovered by, it was said, by Earl Haynes, and did songs with him and also Billy Eckstine. She died very sadly, according to Wikipedia, on the 3rd of April 1990 of lung cancer, which she was literally only 64. She was quite a young lady. Yes, just weeks before her 66th birthday. So if you're interested in Sarah Vaughan and her singing, she's got what they call a salty type singing. In fact, she quite liked that title, and sassy they called her, and she quite liked. So Sarah Vaughan is certainly available on the Wikipedia website, and I like to keep records of all the singers, because some of them had quite interesting lives, and once they're gone, aren't they? I had a couple of weeks holiday, would you believe, and I had a really good 2 weeks. This week, my son James and I went down to see the RAF museum at Caple-le-Ferne near Dover. Certainly well worth a visit. Only opened by Her Majesty the Queen in March this year, and we had a really fantastic time there. It overlooks the sea. The actual exhibition centre is particularly interactive and with the latest technology, and certainly worth a visit. £6, that's all it cost, and James was quite taken by it all, particularly how young the airmen were, that as Churchill called the few, particularly during the Battle of Britain. And so and if you want to take young children with you, there's some dressing up clothes there as well, so they can try on flying suits and jackets and hats. So it's really quite a nice family day out. Those of you who are on my Facebook website will see the photographs there as well. The other thing is we went on to Dover Castle to have a look at the secret tunnels there, which were used during the Second World War and previous to that, and that's another worthwhile visit. We had to queue up for about an hour to get in, because they only let so many people go in. It was high season, I suppose, and we'd had the wonderful Operation Stack down the M20, which has probably stopped a lot of visitors going. That thankfully has now gone. But a really lovely day out, and I came back totally shattered, but thoroughly enjoying it. And it's right on our doorstep, because I live in Maidstone, so it's something you don't always see yourself visiting. But anyway, okay. So I just turned Sarah down, and we'll get on to the business in hand. Just bear with me a second. There we go. I'll just turn this off. Right, okay, so now we're going to talk about the Hamper Gramophone. And things have moved on a bit since I last spoke to you, which was part 3. So I'm just going to take Mr. GoPro off the stand here and show you around the workshop. Just bear with me a second. So I think we'll start here with the motor board. So if I just take that over here. Right, now last time I did a video and uploaded, none of this nice mahogany colour was present. It was just a case of I was showing you what it was going to look like, or where the things went. So I've given it more than a couple of coats. I suppose it's been about 4 coats. This is the underside. I tested it out on the underside first. The learning here is that you need to make sure that all the brush strokes are in the same direction, because you can see, you might just see here where I tend to do this with it. In fact, it ought to be just in one way, which is what I've done. So this is the best side, if you like, and all the brush strokes go in the same direction. So that's looking very smart now. And I've matched it up with the case, which has also had a few coats of the mahogany gloss varnish as well, so that's looking very, very nice now. So that's the motorboard, and I've also put an extra slot in here for the needle box. This is the needle box I've decided to use, and that fits in there. And then the turntable, of course, which is this one, which of course is the brown colour as well, will fit here. I've taken the motor off now, I'll show you that in a second. So that's going there. So that's starting to look more like a gramophone than before. The other thing I've done is that I've cleaned up the little centerpiece where the turning handle will go, and that will go in here. I think I said that last time. I've just got to make sure it's clean enough. It's not quite as polished as I'd like it to be. So that's that bit. The other thing I've done is I've even varnished the internal parts of this case. So you can see here, there we go, it's looking quite good now, and I've obviously all the rough edges have now come off. So I've sanded it well with a sander. I've given it a couple of, well, I think it's about 3 coats actually altogether. So it's starting to look quite good. And the supports here, I've done those and right down, because I do believe that if you're going to do the outside, you should do the inside just as much as well, because I think that's part of it. The other thing was that last time I showed you, I hadn't smoothed off all these edges, and I'd filled them in with wood filler, mahogany wood filler, or dark as it's called here. This one here we go. This one, Ronseal's dark. And then I used the sander again on here just to make sure that it was all done nicely, and you actually don't notice it too much. It was looking a bit rough, because don't forget, this never started life as a gramophone case. It actually was a hamper, and so it is starting to come on a bit now. It's starting to look a little bit more like it should. The if I just take that outside a second, just bear with me a minute. The lid is here, and again I've done some work on that. Just remove these bits out of the way. I should have prepared myself a bit better this afternoon for you all, shouldn't I? Where we go. The spontaneity sometimes can be an advantage. So yes, so here we go. So I've done the same here and just smoothed all that off, and that's starting to look quite nice now. What else have we done? Oh right, so the other bit I've done is, let me move that out of the way. I've also, this is the horn, which I think I showed you some time ago, so that's just been taken out. Obviously, the other thing, I've actually done an extra piece of timber. In fact, there's a couple of pieces of timber, because this bit will fit. Oh, it's gone outside now. Where are we? Will fit here, just to blank off the end. And you remember, gramophones do have that, because once you've fitted the main part in, often you get a slight gap, so that's going to fit there. And then the other thing I had to consider was that this part of the gramophone here was showing, so I've got a piece of timber that I've cut to the right, or will be cut to the right size, and that will just fill in there. I'll just stick that on there as well. The handle I've cleaned up now, and I've also painted it nice black, gloss black, and given it some oil so it doesn't squeak. Yep, no squeaking. So when it goes around, and the tone arm base, I've given that some, I've also painted that in gloss black, so that all matches up quite well. Now the only thing that I haven't done is the gramophone motor itself. This is it. And remember, I was talking to you about how it wasn't this. The place that you wind isn't straight, and this shows that quite clearly. Though it says Decca on the label there, it says Garrard 20 here. So so that's a job in itself that I'll be doing, and I'll do some videos about how that goes. But otherwise, it runs well, and that's the main thing. I think that's about all actually this afternoon, if that's okay. And no, I think that's about it. The other thing is that just to mention that I went into Maidstone today to do a bit of shopping. I cycled in as the weather was quite nice, and I was amazed at I went into HMV. I always like to pop in there, see how their technology's progressing, all the things they've got, headphones and wireless speakers and God knows what else in there. But I always like to look round the CD collection, see how many El Boli CDs I could find. I couldn't find any. I found plenty of other people that I recognised. But what I did notice is that their vinyl section has increased, and they've got a lot of new presses of things like the Beatles and Van Morrison and others, which I thought was an amazement, considering that well, I suppose vinyl was on the increase, but since I was last in there, which is only about a year ago, I suppose. The other thing is they were selling these so-called Crosley record players, which I call crapograms, at an extortionate price, £129 or something they were, to play all this lot on. But you know, that's a personal view, I suppose, being a bit of a having a bit of an interest in all that. But anyway, just in passing, and look forward to your comments. Speak to you all soon. Bye.